Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the show. This is Reservations, and I'm Rain Whalen.
And I'm Bertram Puffbum. And
Oh, God.
look off the list. There we go.
The first name of 2024.
It's very British.
Oh, God. Well, and I'm pretty sure I said it at the beginning of the season. You've got a lot of butt names.
I think it was the last one, actually, of the butts. The butt ones. That's it.
Interesting.
Yep.
Interesting.
Yeah, that's it.
Is this a Fordian thing? Like you secretly want butt stuff, so you?
Honestly, I don't know. We were just coming up with names, and those are the funniest ones. Yeah.
Oh, God. Well, again, first name of 2024.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year, everyone. Welcome to the first episode of 2024. We hope everyone had a great Christmas. Hope you enjoyed the Christmas episode. You didn't, but that's fine. And we hope everyone had a fun and safe New Year's as well. What did y'all do for New Year's, buddy?
Hold on, you worked so hard on making the YouTube so festive, and nobody watched it.
Yeah, I know. I was like, I'm gonna go all out for this one. I'm gonna have snowflake effects. I'm gonna give us a nice little festive background. Give us Christmassy like font for our names, and it has 10 views.
Well,
10 views on YouTube, and let's see how many listens. Open, damn you.
I'm gonna say less than 10.
3.
All right.
Yeah.
There it is.
Yep. So essentially, everyone, Jeremy will never pick another Christmas episode.
That's it. You ruined it.
You're done.
Yep.
You're done, bro.
You've all ruined it, and you've killed my Christmas spirit. Honestly, it's all gone. What did we
Christmas
do?
2024 is gonna roll around.
What did we do for New Year's? Is that what you asked?
Yes. Yeah. What did
Nothing. Nothing. We're just watching comfort TV. And then we watched comfort TV. We tried watching Letterkenny again, and then we're like, Shoresy is way better.
Oh yeah, because that's ending.
Yeah, Shoresy. We just started. We started and finished it. We're caught up, and it's just way better. So we're like, this is not as good now. So,
right.
Waited for midnight, said woohoo, and then we went to bed.
Promptly
it's
went
weird.
to bed.
It's weird without cable now. It's weird not just flipping through like the New Year's Eve stuff, the festivities, right? Like I was watching a lot of clips of Anderson Cooper and Andy Cohen and their New Year's thing, and those guys are those guys are nuts. So,
well, we pretty much did the same thing. We got some Italian food from Olive Garden, and then we proceeded to watch. We tortured ourselves with all the YouTube rewinds from 2010 to 2019 because 2019 was the official last one. And then we timed it, which I told you off mic. We timed watching The Great Gatsby to when Leo cheers right at midnight. And so he was cheersing us into the New Year's.
If you would like to know my thoughts,
personally,
go
before you tell me your thoughts.
I was going to tell him to go re-listen to our Great Gatsby episode. Those are my thoughts. All right.
Well, what's funny, Ashley was like, have y'all done The Great Gatsby? I was like, yes. and Jeremy didn't. Jeremy does not care for The Great Gatsby.
No, I don't.
Well, and I will say, so I'm not going to pull it out, but I got Elvis for Christmas. I got it on 4K because from a story perspective and Austin Butler's performance, I enjoyed it. But I was telling Ashley while we were rewatching The Great Gatsby, I was like, Baz Luhrmann, which we talked about, and this will be a little footnote before we get into the episode. He oversaturates the frame with color, and it's very overwhelming because there's so much going on.
I agree.
If I didn't say this in our Great Gatsby episode, it works for Great Gatsby because it's supposed to. It does not work for Elvis because this is a biopic. Why would you overwhelm the audience with the frame? Like it yeah. But anyway, but yeah, we did the same. So after New Year's, we said it's 2024, and then went to bed. Yeah.
Although before the evening had begun, Haley and I went to the movies, and we went and saw Yorgos Lanthimos, whatever. Poor Things. We watched
Lanthimos.
Lanthimos's. There you go. Stuck. It was stuck in my mouth. Anyway, it was incredible. Go see Poor Things. It was amazing. I don't want to ruin anything. I don't want to say anything.
I'm super jealous, man.
But, yeah.
Yeah, awesome. I'm super jealous. Like when I first heard about it, I was like, oh, okay. And then I saw not even the trailer. I saw some of the promotional material, and I was like, okay. And then I saw the trailer, and I was like, all right, I'm sold. Yeah. Let's do this.
Definitely.
Ever since we did The Lobster, I've just been itching to watch more of Yorgos Lanthimos' films. I think I might watch The Favorite sometime soon.
Yeah. You should.
I don't have anything, since you said you watched that, I don't have anything new necessarily that I watched, but I did start and complete all 3 seasons of Dave on FX.
Cool.
I don't know if I've ever said it on the show. I'm a big fan of Lil Dicky, and his show Dave is actually shockingly really good. You would think it's all dick jokes, but it's actually really good and gets really deep and about mental health and the idea of success and like what fame really entails. And the season 3 finale is batshit crazy. Like they got Brad Pitt to be in it, and
what?
It's insane. Yeah. Well, and Rachel McAdams. So
insane.
Well, there's an episode in season 3 where he gets invited to the Met Gala, and they got Don Cheadle, they got Travis Barker, they got Phineas, they got Megan Fox, MGK, Ed Sheeran. No, they didn't get Ed Sheeran. My bad. They got Jack Harlow. They got I don't know how many favors he pulled to get these people in, because there's throughout all 3 seasons there's a ton of cameos. Like in season 2, Dave almost goes on a date with Doja Cat. It's yeah.
But I saw the first season.
It's a lot of fun.
And I liked the first season. That was pretty good. I just never picked it back up again. So I guess maybe we should. So,
I'd recommend it. Season 2, season 2's insane, just because he is trying to write his album, and then season 3 starts kind of not necessarily, I wouldn't say tame, but like you're kind of going up on this roller coaster, and then you get to one episode, and I'm not going to spoil it, and then just essentially the last few episodes, all hell breaks loose, and
okay,
and it's and also he's finally releasing his new album after 7 fucking years. So, and that's actually what inspired the rewatch of Dave. So
I see. All right, cool.
Yeah, but anyway, so Jeremy, who picked this movie again?
You did. I didn't.
I know. While I was watching it, I was like, who the fuck picked this movie again? I was like, oh, right. It was me. So, in case anyone forgot, because it has been about 2 weeks since we said what episode we're doing, we are doing the 1999 dark comedy drama, American Beauty. This was on the half of my list of movies I hadn't seen, and you know what? It didn't disappoint.
Okay.
It did not disappoint.
Yeah.
Although I was thinking a lot about our conversation, which I'll get into here in a second. But I enjoyed it. I thought it was. It doesn't really become a dark comedy till sort of the end, in a way. But we'll also get there.
It's pretty humorous throughout, I think. But yeah.
But yeah. So you don't have to answer the question, buddy, but I'm gonna ask it anyway. When was the last time before this that you had seen the movie?
Last time before this, I don't know when the last time was. I remember the first time I watched it.
Okay, when was that?
Well, I was either in high school or I was at my first year of college, and Turner Classic Movies was having their 31 Days of Oscar, and when they do this, they not only show classic films, but they also show contemporary films throughout the month. And so American Beauty was on there. So, recorded on my DVR. And this is, I think it was when I learned, because normally when I would watch something on Turner Classic Movies, it was obviously something, super old, right? It was like something from the 40s or something from the 50s or something. You know what I mean? That's what I would typically watch on TCM, right? But this time, it was my first time ever watching something contemporary on there. And so when I was watching the movie that I had recorded from cable, it was uncensored and there were no commercials.
Really?
And they didn't blur the nudity. It was all there. And I was like, whoa, TCM gets away with a lot. And I thought that was pretty cool. I wasn't expecting that. But I remember really liking it. I may have been thinking it's on TCM, it's on 31 Days of Oscar, it won Best Picture. So I was already thinking it was good before I went into it. So that may have that may have altered my experience a bit. If I'd gone into it blind, would I have liked it? I don't know. But I liked it. I thought it was good. I thought the performances were great. I knew who Chris Cooper was. I knew who Kevin Spacey was. I recognized the girl from American Pie.
Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Yeah. And so I mean, I enjoyed it. I thought it was partly funny, and I thought it was super sad at the end, yet uplifting, and I thought the story was interesting. I liked the way they told the story. Yeah. So I liked it.
Yeah. Well, and also, now that we know things, I mean, dude, shout out to Sam Mendes, bro.
Yeah. Definitely.
That dude is a hell of a filmmaker. I mean, just look at fucking Skyfall. Jesus Christ.
Skyfall. Yeah. Skyfall's great.
Well, and of course 1917, which I still haven't seen.
Oh, it's great.
But I will. One of these days I will.
Eventually in the future, who knows when. If we haven't already, which I don't think we have, we'll need to do Road to Perdition one of these days.
We haven't, and I would be very excited to do that.
Okay, cool. Yeah. Sam Mendes also, it's amazing. Yeah. So, Rain, go ahead and regale us with a quick synopsis, and then we'll get this show on the road.
I shall. All right. So American Beauty stars Kevin Spacey as Lester. How do you pronounce their last name?
Stand by.
Well, while you look that up, plays Lester, a married man who you would think.
Burnham.
What was it?
Burnham.
Fuck it, I did it again.
Yeah, you did.
Burnham. Fuck. Okay, so Lester Burnham. You'd think he is living the American dream. He has a wife, a child, a nice house. But Lester is sort of numb to his life, I guess I would say. And he's looking for something to shake things up. And one day, unprompted, when Lester and his wife, Carolyn, played by the fantastic Annette Bening, attend their daughter's a basketball game where their daughter's a cheerleader, he becomes obsessed with her friend Angela, and starts to lust after her, and decides to completely change his personality, because he wants to get with her. And he's also unhappy in his marriage with Carolyn. He feels like he has no say in things. He feels that he is just a, for lack of a better term, pawn in her game. And he wants to live his own life. So he quits his job and blackmails his boss into giving him, I think it was $60,000 as a severance package. Decides to start working out because he overheard Angela say that she would probably sleep with him if he worked out a little bit more. So he starts working out. He starts buying, and during all this, they get new neighbors. Fitz, yes. I believe. Yeah, the Fitz, Chris Cooper. And I was also very shocked to see
Wes Bentley.
Oh, fuck. I had her name. Oh. No, not Wes Bentley.
Yes.
The mom.
No, you're absolutely right. Allison Janney.
Allison Janney. I was like, Allison, oh my God, it's Allison Janney.
Yeah.
The Fitz moved next door. Chris Cooper, the dad, Allison Janney, the mom, and Wes Bentley, their son. And Wes Bentley's character, Ricky, starts selling weed to Lester. So Lester's now working out, smoking weed, flipping burgers at the local Mr. Smiley's Burger House. Buys his dream car because he's decided he is no longer going to be complacent in Carolyn's vision of her, of their life. And during all this, Carolyn is having an affair with a local realtor, Buddy King, played by, can't think of his name.
Yep.
Schmidt's dad.
Yeah.
That's
Peter Gallagher.
Peter Gallagher. Fuck. But they start having an affair because he's going through a separation himself. And all the while, Jane, Jane Burnham, Lester's daughter, is having a relationship with Ricky. And during all this sort of, I don't want to say chaos, there's a lot of misinformation being spread. So Chris Cooper's character is a Marine officer, whatever. He's a Marine, and he does not like the gay neighbors, which was really funny to see Scott Bakula be a gay neighbor.
Mm-hmm.
But he confuses that Lester is also gay. And essentially this all culminates in the last day of Lester's life, where he catches Carolyn with Buddy. Chris Cooper thinks that Ricky is gay and performing sexual acts for Lester. He believes, Chris Cooper thinks that Lester's marriage is all just a sham, just a cover to hide the fact that he is gay. And everything that we've been building to by this point, Lester finally has the opportunity to sleep with Angela. But upon learning that she's a virgin, he can't go through with it. And for once in his life, is content, and then boom, he's shot in the back of the head. And that's American Beauty. I
Cool.
yada over some stuff, but
yeah, that's okay.
So we end with Lester dead.
Yeah.
And what a way to end a film, especially considering, like I mentioned in the synopsis, we had been building, like the whole movie had been building to him sleeping with Angela, and they subvert our expectations by he can't go through with it.
Right. Yeah.
Which is insane.
I mean, this whole movie is kind of insane, right? This whole movie is sort of strange, and it's not what you expect, and it's kind of gross, and it's all presented to you as this normalcy, right? Because it's never presented as illegal what when Lester is trying
what Lester's trying to do
to sleep with Angela. It's never that's never questioned, right? That we're not saying like, oh no, that makes him sort of like a pedophile, basically.
Yeah.
And I mean, I don't know how old Angela's supposed to be, but she's like, I don't know, 17, 16, 17.
The only age we ever hear is from Ricky when he asks him like his age, because like when he quits that catering job, he's like, "What are you, 16?" He's like, "No, I'm 18." I think that's the only age we hear from these high school characters.
Yeah,
the whole
I don't know how old they're supposed to be, but either way, it's gross, right?
I'm not going to play devil's advocate.
Yeah, gross, right? It's still disgusting. She's in high school, and he's like 40. So so that's strange, right? It's really just pulling the curtain back on suburbia. I wrote down that where David Lynch shows you strange, surreal, macabre, like the dark underbelly with suburban America, right? This is more
Blue Velvet's right there.
Yeah, this is more just a darker, realistic side of everyday suburban America, right? It's not necessarily saying like that. It's not representing this like super dark and mysterious and criminal or anything like that. It's more just these are things people don't talk about. People present themselves on the outside different than how they represent themselves inside their homes, right? And which is where we are with Lester and Carolyn, right? Lester and Carolyn represent themselves differently outside than they do inside, right? They can't stand each other, inside their homes, but outside their homes, they're very cordial and they're, very polite and they pretend. And so this is where this film is different because it's so uniquely this time period, right?
I was going to bring that up.
Yeah. This is so uniquely 1999 and in this era, right? We're pre 9/11, so that hasn't even happened yet, and yet it's sort of saying, there's this thing where people can be trapped by their life circumstances, even if they're positive, right? Is what this movie is representing, right? This film is saying that you can still be unhappy even though you have the American dream, right? Which is very interesting because now I think that that's completely ridiculous. I think if you were to ask someone our age, maybe a little younger, they would say, "What are you talking about? Lester has everything." You know, I
Yeah.
can't afford groceries this week, but he's bummed out because oh no, like he works a job. They have a 5-bedroom house. You know, um, I mean, it sucks. His wife's a bitch, but other than that, you know what I mean. Relax.
Yeah. Yeah.
So like that's that doesn't correlate now, right? That's not
Right.
relatable anymore. Um, I think people like, um, oh man, I forgot his name. Hold on. People like, oh, it just says Colonel Fitz. Jesus Christ. People like Fitz
Uh-huh.
aren't as blatant anymore. Aren't as, or at least I don't think so. Um, so like with his blatant homophobia, right?
Mm-hmm.
Um, and possible racism. Who knows? Um, but he's sort of just
Yeah.
like, sorry, my cat is playing with something. Um, and so that's sort of like not the norm anymore. Um, again, people being unhappy is universal, but this is more like people being unhappy um, with, I don't know, it's almost like manufactured unhappiness. I don't want to say like
Okay.
maybe that's not true. I'm just trying to think because like I like the idea of this not being very relatable anymore, right? I think that's interesting.
Mm-hmm.
I'm trying to figure out like why it's not relatable anymore, right? Because obviously, like I said,
I'm
unhappiness is universal, and that people understand that. People understand being trapped and being unhappy, right?
right. I
But
think what it is maybe it's in how Lester deals with it. Maybe
maybe, definitely.
is what's
Well,
not
definitely
is what
going,
not's relatable anymore.
definitely having like pursuing, actively pursuing a a lustful relationship with a teenager is not at all okay, right? It
Yeah.
even wasn't okay
100%.
then, which is why this is sort of provocative, right? Um, it's
Mm-hmm.
presenting the movie is presenting it to you as provocative. It's not necessarily presenting it to you as criminal, like I said, but it's it's still not okay. But I guess they were just like, you know, it's not cool, but you know, the dude's wife's really mean to him, so like, you get it.
Yeah, and she's having an affair, so it's okay.
It's okay. And you heard her. Angela keeps talking about all the dudes she's banging all the time anyway, so it's fine, right?
You know, it. You know what it reminds me of, and I'm sure they did it in reference to this. Is at the end of a Rick and Morty episode where Summer's friend is talking about like how cute Jerry is,
Mm-hmm.
and Summer's just like, mm-hmm. She's like, I don't know, like I don't know, and then she goes, Summer, I want to fuck your dad, and she's like, oh really?
Yeah. Yeah. It is. That was reminiscent of that, I'm sure. Um,
Yeah.
but something that I know for sure does not relate to anyone anymore is um is Ricky filming everyday life and that being strange.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
that's not
Yeah.
weird anymore.
That
So
that
that's
unfortunately.
completely
Yeah.
different.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that unfortunately is a norm, especially now in 2024. People, vlogging themselves or vlogging everyday life is not it's not strange. I mean, it's I guess now borderlining on cringy, but it's not strange.
Yeah. I mean, they're like, this dude's a psycho. This dude's like mentally ill. This guy's like basic. You know what I mean? Like this dude's like basically a serial killer because he's like filming a plastic bag in the wind. Like that's not. No, I mean he's just an artsy guy, you know.
Yeah, I sidebar. I love how they make fun of that character in Not Another Teen Movie. It makes me laugh
That was
every time.
Haley's only frame of reference for this movie, by the way. So when we were watching it, she goes, "Is that what they were talking about in Not Another Teen?" I was like, "Yes, it's what they're."
Well, and honestly, who creepier? As of course now that he's had a very long career, who better than Wes Bentley to play
I know. I
in
agree.
1999 what would be considered a freak?
I agree
Um,
100%.
I mean, don't get me wrong. I like the I like the guy. I think he's a very versatile actor, but he plays freaks really well.
He does. I 100% agree with you. That is,
Yeah,
it was great casting there.
100%.
So all right, let's see what we got. We can talk about Lester a little bit more. Oh, also, I guess we should also mention Kevin Spacey's not a good person, and that's why this movie is also kind of weird to watch. But
yes, yeah.
And honestly,
We're not going to get into it, everyone.
This is the only Spacey movie that makes me feel that way. I don't feel this way in
Really?
7. I don't think 7 is not affected for me at all. Usual Suspects, no way.
And I think it's because of the accusations.
Yeah, well, and it's because he's trying to like have sex with his teenager.
Yeah,
they're sort of like that. It makes perfect sense why it like definitely doesn't age well because of that.
Yeah, we're not going to get into it, everyone. If you're curious, just look it up. You can do it yourself.
Sure, you should know.
You're an adult. You can do it yourself.
Right.
Yeah. But yeah, no, I would agree. I mean, like there were certain scenes. I mean, don't get me wrong. Look, Kevin Spacey, terrible person. But there were certain scenes where it's like, damn, that's really good. Like
I know.
He is giving it his all and he's crushing it.
I know. The performances in here are amazing. I would argue that the actress who plays Angela gives one of the best performances at the end of the film, where it's revealed that she's been really like putting on this alternate personality, and that she's actually very insecure, very shy. And what I think in that moment, I think that what really ties the film together is that she is terrified of being ordinary. Which I think is the core of the film, is this fear of being ordinary. You want to break out of that. You want to be your own person. You want to carve your own path. You want to do your own thing and be your own person, and not have other things dictate who you are and what you do, right? Which is the entire reason why Lester is just completely fed up and sick with it. You know what I mean? He's sick of all of the, people telling him what to do all the time, and not being in control of his own life. Being ordinary.
Yep. Yeah, and I think from a story standpoint, I think that's so interesting that he decides to uproot everything because he is tired of this. Now, granted, at the core, lusting after a teenager is probably not the best idea, but I mean, he goes from a very well-paying job in advertising to just flipping burgers because, as he tells Ricky, it was the best time in his life when he was younger, and he wants to feel happy again, and then buys himself his dream car because, well, I wanted it.
Yeah.
And it's just so interesting. It reminds me a lot of, there's a movie, and it's right there. I can see it. of a similar movie where someone like uproots their life and people think they're crazy. But I can't, for the life of me, I can't remember what it is.
I mean, Demolition's a good example of that.
Oh, and there it is. Also with Chris Cooper.
Also with Chris Cooper. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know why it took me forever to remember that, but yeah, but again, from a purely story standpoint, it is really interesting. Now also, I meant to point this out at the top when I was doing the synopsis. I was like, the actor that plays Jane looks really familiar. I was like, who is that? And for our Hocus Pocus fans out there, that's Danny.
Yeah.
That's the little sister.
Uh-huh.
Which made it all the more weird when she disrobes, and I was just like, oh, I shouldn't look, but I mean, I have to look and see what's happening. Like, this could be integral to the plot. Like, I was like,
Yeah.
but this feels weird because I love Hocus Pocus. Ashley and I watch it every Halloween. We technically, you more than me and Alex, we met Vanessa Shaw.
Yeah, we did.
Like I said, you more so than the two of us. So,
I mean, I put myself in the situation. You know what I mean?
If anyone doesn't know, he opened the door for Vanessa Shaw and also got her water. He just happened to be getting himself water, and she was like, "Oh, can I have one?" And you, being the gentleman, were like, "Yes, here you go, Vanessa Shaw from Hocus Pocus fame."
And 310 Yuma fame. Please let me get this water for you.
That's right. But yeah, Jane is a very interesting character, and I think maybe she's another reason why people have a hard time relating to this, because teens, well, I don't know.
Because you're right, because there is this, I think the reason why I'm having such a hard time grasping at why this isn't that relatable, because it is and it isn't, because teenage angst is relatable. Not wanting to be ordinary, not wanting to be trapped, not having control of your life, that's relatable. Even Carolyn is going through her own personal thing, right? She's not made out to be the antagonist, right? She is also struggling, but she's taking it out on Lester, right? She's taking her frustrations out. She also feels like she has no control over her life either. And that, again, they're just stuck. And everybody just feels that way, and all of that culminates into them taking it out on everybody else. Except for Lester, who takes it all in, right? Until he just can't take it anymore.
Yeah. I love his monologue when Carolyn catches him masturbating, and I love that he tries to be like, I wasn't doing anything, and then he was like, okay, fine, yes, I was masturbating, and I just love his whole like, well, there's a new me, and when the new me's horny, I'm gonna masturbate, yeah, because and then that's kind of what really sets in motion his I'm gonna change everything, because that also, the very next morning he goes on a run with Scott Bakula and the
dad from AI,
his partner.
Yeah.
Oh, it is. Oh my god. And then this is when we get the first misunderstanding of Chris Cooper thinking that Lester was gay.
Let's talk about that for a second, because
okay,
if I had problems with this movie, which I don't really, I think it's very good. My problem would be some of these misunderstandings are really good for comedy, but there are some misunderstandings in this film, especially the visual ones, that are almost like out of Austin Powers, where that column is in the way and it looks like Kevin Spacey's being blown by Ricky, right?
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
that's an Austin Powers bit. You know what I mean? Like so it's sort of out of place, I think, in a movie that's so
Okay.
serious in that moment. Um,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
but yeah, and you know um the verbal misunderstandings. You know, like when Lester is finally like at his most independent, um, and Carolyn is out with Peter Gallagher, and he's saying, you know, that his marriage is just for show and that it's not really, you know, it's not real. He means something different than what it sounds like, right? He just
Yeah.
means that
Yeah.
they're not really in love, that they really don't like each other, that they've never really been happy, all that stuff. But he makes it seem like he's gay, and that's, you know, a
Yeah.
misunderstanding.
Yeah. Yeah. Shout out to our Nocturnal Animals episode where Tom Ford, uh, his character. No, not Tom. Well, yeah, Tom Ford's in the movie, right?
No.
I can't remember. It's been so long. Oh well, the character that he has who is gay but has a wife for show.
Oh, it's Michael Sheen. Um,
That's right. That's right.
yeah,
That's right. Right. Yeah, yeah,
yeah.
But yeah, that's what Chris Cooper thinks. Um, Now, okay. Speaking of the misunderstandings,
Okay.
I wanted to talk about in that scene in particular. It's a good transition.
Okay.
Was Chris Cooper testing a theory, like when he goes to kiss uh Lester and Lester rebuffs him? Was it to see if he really is gay, or was, because that's how I kind of read it. He's
No, I read it, and I've always thought that Chris Cooper is closeted, right? Colonel Fitz
mm-hmm.
is closeted, and this was his chance, right, to finally like reveal his true self to someone, and it just being a misunderstanding, right? Which is devastating.
Right. Okay.
And he is such a violent person and a very disciplined and very, I guess, conservative, I would assume, person
Yeah.
that nobody can know. You know, he has spent his entire life masking who he really is. I would say more so than he should have. I think he went a little bit too far the other way. Um,
Yeah.
but um, but yeah, I've always read it as he was closeted.
Okay. Yeah. I don't know why that didn't cross my mind. I just, like, I was sitting there watching it, and I'm like, I feel like he's trying to test a theory.
Oh.
He's trying to see, is this guy really gay? But that makes a lot more sense. That, because then thinking about the scene previous where, he tells Ricky, I'd rather you be dead than be gay.
Mhm.
And when Ricky calls his bluff, Ricky tells him he's a sad old man. The closeted, him being closeted, makes way more sense.
Yeah.
But yeah, because I also thought about that. I was like, why? But then why kill Lester? But then that makes sense. No one can know.
Nobody can know, right? And he's sort of like, it's almost like getting rid of his shame, right? His own shame. That, by killing Lester, not only is his secret still safe, but it's also him just getting rid of all of those feelings that he's feeling, right? That he just wants to keep it buried, right? And let me get rid of this lapse in I let the mask slip a little. Let me put it back.
Right.
It's an overcorrection, just like his entire personality is an overcorrection.
Well, and it makes sense, with you saying his shame, because he early in the movie after he meets Scott Bakula, he tells Ricky, how can they be so shameless? And Ricky's like, I don't think they are ashamed. Like,
they're not.
Which which, in today's culture, you shouldn't be
Yeah.
ashamed of who you are, which I feel like maybe that's the one thing that people, that nugget of that character maybe could be related to, that
Mhm.
he is ashamed of who he is, and it escalated, it overcorrected in a very violent and explosive way, you know.
I agree. 100%.
Um, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, Fitz
Although,
is so interesting. He's such an interesting
yeah,
character, but I think
and Chris Cooper,
I think that's the reason why I think it's so interesting is because it's Chris Cooper. I mean, if it had been anybody else, I don't think I would have cared as much. Um, but Chris Cooper is just amazing. I mean, he's so good at this character, right? Because he is
mm-hmm,
essentially this character, a little less violent. He's not, and obviously not gay, but he's the character on October Sky a little bit, just toned
oh,
down. Um,
shout out to October Sky, man. God, I should
yeah,
rewatch that movie.
he's a man who has an idea of what it means to be successful and what it means to be correct, what it means to be right, what it means
Mm-hmm,
to live the right way, right?
mm-hmm,
Unfortunately, sometimes in Fitz's case, he has some deep-seated feelings that doesn't correlate with what he's been taught and probably beaten into him. I'm sure that he's not the one who's starting beating your son. I'm sure he was beat also. Um,
yeah,
so
yeah, yeah. And there's a deeper layer there too, and the deeper layer with the Nazi plate too. Because why would any sane person collect that?
well, I'll tell you.
But I think it's because, okay, tell
I'll
me.
tell you. So I know someone. I won't tell you who, because it doesn't matter. They went to a garage sale and got a ladle, a soup ladle. It's a metal soup ladle for, I don't know, $1, maybe less, and it has a
Uh-huh.
symbol on the back of the ladle. So, and they're like, we have to keep it because it's history, and I don't even think the people knew what it was that were selling it. So, um,
Oh man.
so it's a World War II soup ladle, right? It's just not it's
Mm-hmm.
just not the American side. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's why.
But you know, and also I do want to say this because you mentioned this a second ago, that Carolyn isn't necessarily the bad guy.
No, I don't think so.
I I wouldn't say Chris Cooper is either, even though
No.
he's the one who kills Lester. But their presence kind of throws his plan essentially out of whack.
Yeah.
The Fitz is moving in, and him meeting Ricky is what kind of snowballs Chris Cooper's paranoia, his homophobia, and because I was thinking about this right before we got started, and I was like, if I could foresee Lester have still going the way he did, maybe not smoking weed, but going the way he was going without the Fitz's involvement. I'm sure he still would have met Ricky, because obviously Ricky and the Jane storyline would have still happened. But I don't think it would have been the way that it happened as we saw it.
Mm-hmm.
And then Lester probably would have still been alive. But, that's just a what if.
Yeah, I don't think anyone is quote the bad guy, because this film is
No, Buddy King's the bad guy.
this film is presented as these are just people, right? This is why this movie is so well regarded, is because it is just peeling back the curtain on everyday suburban life, right? Nobody's
Right.
a bad
Mm-hmm.
guy. No one's a good guy. They're just people. going through something, right? In this case, again, I think
Mm-hmm.
the root of this film is just taking control of your own life after you've seemingly lost control of it, right? And
Right.
and everyone's trying to do that, right? It's not just Lester. I know we're focusing on Lester; he's the main character, but Carolyn is taking control of her life as well because she, where she's not nice about it. Don't get me wrong; she's not nice at all.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
she's struggling, right? I think if
Mm-hmm.
they had left out the scenes of her trying to sell that house, where John Cho shows up to try to buy the house, um, we we wouldn't have this insight into her struggle also because she feels less than. She
Mm-hmm.
feels like a failure. She feels like she's not good at this, right? Yet,
Right.
and I think that's why she takes so much control of the house and of her house, of the rose garden and the way the house looks, and down to just Lester. She takes control of Lester. Like that's, you know what I mean? And
Mm-hmm.
Lester is just sort of asleep behind the wheel for a while. That he just lets it happen, right? Um,
Yeah.
and so when he finally breaks out of that, wakes up in a sense, which is what that scene is, I believe, at the basketball game, is him just finally waking up. You know, maybe
Mm-hmm.
not in the most appropriate of ways, but um,
Yeah.
but he's essentially like, oh my god, like what have I been doing, right? Um,
Right.
and so that pushback sort of makes it seem for a moment, and I think for general audiences maybe that Carolyn is the enemy, but I don't think that's the case. I think that he's just pushing back. She's not used to that. She has found that that's one other thing she can't control, and she's also lost control of all this other stuff, and so now she's having to readjust, just like everyone else.
Mm-hmm. Well, and then speaking of Carolyn, and then I wanted to move on to something.
Sure.
Hopefully I don't forget it. Hang on, give me 1 second, because I could feel that thought fading. Um, shit. Hang on.
Right in.
Shut up. Fuck. Hang on. Um.
Captivating.
Oh no. I'm losing it. No. And
Oh
see, now that I'm
no.
trying, I'm losing it even faster.
On a
Because it was a
bummer.
good thing I wanted to bring up.
Yeah.
Um. Oh fuck. Hang on.
Oh
Oh
man.
shit.
Swearing.
Fuck. Well,
Just too much.
damn it, because it was good. It was
Sure was.
good, and you would have been so proud of me
Oh, I
for
would have been.
bringing
I
it up,
just
but
know
now
it.
I can't
You know what?
remember.
I'm just going to go ahead and just be proud of you right now. Good job.
Okay, thanks, buddy.
All right.
Anyway, so hopefully I'll think of it. But
Yeah, you'll remember, I'm
speaking of
sure.
Carolyn, I do like that because you're right. She's not used to Lester pushing back. She's not used to Lester actually taking control. But I do like in the final scenes of the film, you know, we do get this inkling that deep down, she still loved Lester when she hugs his clothes.
Mm-hmm.
Because I truly don't think she, even though it's presented that she was going to kill him, I don't think she was actually going to.
No, I
I
don't think so either.
think maybe she would have showed him the gun, and then they would have made up or something. But I do like that, she because we see that she isn't as horrible as we think she is by this point.
Mhm.
As you've been saying, no, she's not the bad guy, but she is presented as being a bitch. But
She is.
then when we get this scene, yeah. But then when we get this scene of her, crying over the fact of Lester's discovery and just being so in shock that
Mhm.
all she can do is hug his clothes, that we're like, okay, there was this inkling that she did care and love for him. And even we see that with Lester when he's talking about when your life flashes before your eyes. He saw Carolyn as his life was flashing for. So they still loved each other, but I guess in today's terms, they didn't know how to come together as a couple and talk about it and work on it.
Yeah.
All they knew how to do was just fight and just be combative towards one another.
Well, and you bring up a decent point about, how the movie is structured and how they are planting ideas in your head from the jump. So as soon as the movie starts, Lester's dead. Now we have to figure out who did it, right? Or what happened.
Yeah, shout out Sunset Boulevard.
And right, which is very Sunset Boulevard. And so now we're just waiting for it, right? We're not constantly waiting for it, but there are moments where, especially near the end, where we're like, oh, is it him?
Yeah.
Is it her? Is it her? Is it him? Right? And so then it all culminates in those shots of, people have weapons on them, and people have motive.
Yeah.
And but then once Haley was, just furiously trying to figure it out. She was like, "Okay, it's them, and I go, "No, it's not. I promise." And once we finally get who it is, we're like, "Oh, got it." That's interesting, and that subverted my expectation because I thought for sure, the first time I saw it, I probably thought it was going to be, Ricky probably.
Well, especially because the movie starts with
right,
that
of course,
bit of dialogue.
Yeah, and it worked, right? This structure worked to have me think it's going to be Ricky, but really it's going to be Colonel Fitz.
Yeah,
which again didn't see coming. Good job. And I don't know. I like the structure of this film, and again, I think it's probably why it was so successful and why people are gravitated towards it, not just because of its subject matter, but because of how it's put together. It's very unique in that, or reminiscent of other popular works like Sunset Boulevard.
Yeah.
It was something I was going to bring up. What was it? That wasn't it, but it's written down. I might as well talk about it. The writer of this film created 6 Feet Under and True Blood.
Really?
Yeah. I don't know. Take that information and think what you will. I don't know what to do with that information other than it's interesting. The writer of this movie, an original. It's not based on a book or anything. So American Beauty is Alan Ball's work. It's his.
Yeah.
And then he went on to create 6 Feet Under and True Blood.
So as we talked about on the show before, your dad and my wife, I think, are the only people who have watched True Blood from start to finish.
Yeah.
I don't, and I think we both talked about it. I don't really care for it. 6 Feet Under, on the other hand, has got my boy Michael C. Hall, and I've wanted to watch that since I got hooked on Dexter. So
honestly, if you're gonna watch one of Alan Ball's shows, that's the one to do. It's got one of the best finales in.
Really?
Yeah. So yeah, I definitely recommend that one over True Blood for sure. But I don't think Alan Ball gets enough credit for American Beauty. I think it's all Sam Mendes, which I get. But
yeah. I mean, yeah, because I didn't realize who directed it until I saw Sam Mendes, and I was like, oh my god, like awesome.
Yeah.
But here's the thing. As we were kind of talking about at the top of the show, I think it's only been like kind of more recently that Sam gets more credit, because I mean, look what he did with Skyfall and Spectre and 1917 and Jarhead. Oh my god, Jarhead. I think that's why you said his name was Alan Ball, the writer.
Ball.
Yeah, I think maybe that's why he gets overshadowed, because people saw what Sam Mendes did later on, and they're like, "Oh my god!" And he did American Beauty. Like, who cares who wrote it?
Yeah. Yeah. No, I
Which
agree.
unfortunately is the state of Hollywood. Unless
I
you're the
mean,
writer and director, then you're solid.
I mean, not to worry, they both got Oscars anyway, so it doesn't matter.
That's true. That's
Yeah,
true.
both Alan Ball, Sam Mendes, Kevin Spacey, all three of them got Oscars, and then it won Best Picture. So that year, and I wish I could see. I wish I could find out who was all up that year. I'm gonna find out. Stand by.
Well, while you do that, I'm going to talk about this real quick.
Sure.
Because the reason why I picked this movie is because I distinctly remember seeing a video or an article or something about some of the most, like, the biggest unanswered questions in film. And this was on here. And I found this whole post on Reddit about who killed Lester.
Mm-hmm.
And because apparently there's a lot of debate, even though now finally seeing the movie, I realize there is no debate. It was the Colonel, plain and simple. He's the one covered in blood. The gun was missing from his cabinet. He's got gloves on, so it was the Colonel.
Yeah, of course.
But apparently there's a lot of debate where people aren't sold that it was the Colonel who did it.
Really?
I saw one. I saw one where people are saying it was Carolyn, and that she was so in shock after she did so that that's when she was crying in the closet. But see, that doesn't make any sense because we hear the gunshot before she's even in the house. So unless someone out there is Mandela affecting themselves and convinced that it was Carolyn, and they're going to die on that hill. But I just find it interesting that this movie, yes, when the shot happens, yes, we're left kind of guessing. Okay, well, who did it?
Right.
But then the movie answers the question, which is we see Jane and Ricky in Jane's room, and they hear the gunshot. We see Angela in the bathroom. She hears the gunshot.
Yeah.
And we see Carolyn walking up to the house in the rain, and she hears the gunshot. Now, granted, she doesn't react to it, so maybe that's why people assume it was her, but then the very next scene, we see the Colonel rushing back into his study, covered in blood.
Yeah.
He's got gloves on, and we see a gun missing from his gun cabinet. So it was obviously him.
Yeah.
Plain and simple.
You're right. Although I do like how people are trying to retroactively make this sort of like ambiguous ending, like you can pick and choose, right? Like it's Clue. But I don't know. No. I mean, it's a fun idea and I really like it. You know what? Let's do it. Once we find a way to go back in time, we will request we'll go to the set, of course. We'll find out where they're shooting American Beauty, and then we'll be like, listen, you should make it to where it could have been any of them, and then leave it at that, right? And that would have been really cool. I would have liked
that. Show. Yeah, see, if they just had the footage of everyone finding him, then I think it would have been ambiguous. But we have these shots of people reacting far away from the kitchen to the gunshot. So
yeah, I do like it.
It's not
dude, I do like the idea. I like the idea of it, but it's just not true. It's unfortunate. You know?
Well, if future Rain and Jeremy have successfully done it, maybe once this episode's over and we wrap up, we should rewatch it and see if the ending's changed.
You're right. Because that's how time travel works, guys.
Yeah, it's that instant. If Back to the Future has taught us anything, it's that instant.
All right, so I have the nominees.
Okay, tell me.
One of them surprises me because number one, I forgot it came out that year. Number two, I didn't think people liked it like that. Cider House Rules was nominated for Best Picture. Yeah, Michael Caine, Charlize Theron, and Tobey Maguire. are in this film called Cider House Rules.
Oh.
Whatever. All right. Then The Insider. It's a Michael Mann film, I believe, with Russell Crowe and Al Pacino. It's a true story. It's espionage, whistleblowing stuff. The Green Mile.
Nice. I know you love that movie.
I do. And The Sixth Sense. So American Beauty beat all those guys.
Really?
Yeah.
Really? You mean when M. Night Shyamalan was like at the top of his game?
Yevers.
Before he became a hack?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I heard Knock at the Cabin was fine. Like,
I'll never
Old, know. Everyone, well, especially you, hated Old, but then I heard Knock at the Cabin was fine. Sidebar. So since we're on the subject of M. Night Shyamalan, I don't mean to call anyone out here, but Ashley's great uncle. And I'll elaborate more. I'll elaborate more off mic because I don't. And on the off chance he listens to this episode and makes it this far, I don't want him to think I'm. Anyway, he's convinced that M. Night Shyamalan is peak writing and directing. I will elaborate when we're off mic.
Okay.
But I needed your reaction.
Okay. That's fine.
So the thing I wanted to talk about still hasn't come back yet. So
Damn, and I think we're near the end of this thing.
I know, and inspiration will strike, and I will text you at like 4 a.m. and be like, I remember.
Yeah. That's going to be too late.
And you're going to be half asleep, being like, what?
I won't answer at 4 a.m. You're out of your mind. I'll be up at 5:30.
That's right. You take those melatonin gummies.
Yeah, I'll be up at 5:30, but I'm not going to be up at 4. That's great.
Yeah, so I think we're coming to the end, getting to the wrap up.
Yeah.
So honestly, the last few things I want to leave off with is I love the progression of all these characters.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, obviously, like you mentioned earlier, Lester's our main character, so of course he's going to get the most progression. I remembered.
There it is. Let's do it. Let's do it.
Okay. So, talking about back in our Sicario episode about tension building, I fucking love the asparagus scene.
Okay.
Because not only did it remind me of Sicario, but it also reminded me, and maybe this is how the Safdies came up with it, but Uncut Gems.
Mm-hmm.
You know, the whole.
Don't lean on the glass.
He's talking. Can someone pass me the asparagus? Talking, yelling. Okay, can someone please pass me the fucking asparagus?
Yeah.
And then it just explodes. And then I love that it ends with him throwing it into the wall. Like, I would say, besides the ending, that is one of the most tense scenes in the movie.
I agree. Yeah.
Even though it's kind of coming across as kind of funny, because it leads up to, Carolyn being like, Jane, ask your father what he did today. How was his day at work? He's like, well, I quit my job and blackmailed my boss for $60,000.
No, and it is funny. It's supposed to be funny, right? You're not wrong in thinking that it's humorous because, I mean, it's written that way, and it is supposed to be this dark comedy and in parts, right?
Right.
I would say most of Lester's rejuvenation and taking back his life, most of that is darkly funny.
Mm-hmm.
I think.
Right.
Because it's finally him just sticking up for himself, which is something that he's not used to doing, but he's, going just full speed ahead.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank God I remembered that, dude.
Woo!
I don't know. Saying something about Lester's progression, like, triggered it. And I was like, oh, yeah, the asparagus scene.
The asparagus scene. Yes, I couldn't agree more. Very tense, very well crafted. Good job.
Yeah. Do you think the Safdies use this as a template for the whole don't lean on the glass?
Yeah, I think so. It's the only thing that makes sense. I'm not even going to Google it. I'm sure that's right.
we get a strongly worded comment or email from the Safdies like, actually, we just thought it was going to be really intense. Yeah. How dare you assume we've seen American Beauty?
Yeah.
Or they could be like, oh, yo, dude, you hit it on the hand. Y'all hit the nail right on the head. Like, yeah. We rewatched that scene specifically. But, okay, now that that's out of the way, Jeremy, are you ready to wrap up?
I am. Good pick. It was fun. I liked it.
Nice.
I enjoyed watching it. Second time? Third time? Honestly, I'm not really sure how many times I've seen it, but it's great. It's this good look at, this picture perfect suburban life and what lies beneath, and I really like it.
Yeah, that was probably me updating my list.
It was.
Yeah, I enjoyed it as well. I think again, as we mentioned, Kevin Spacey is a horrible person, but damn it if he didn't do a great job.
I know.
I mean, look, maybe I should start watching House of Cards. I don't know.
It's good, man. I'm not gonna deny that it's bad, man. At least up until like season 4,
Yeah. Well, didn't they kill him off like in season 6 or something like that?
It's my understanding. Again, I didn't make it that far. So.
Okay. All right. Well, Jeremy. So, what are we talking about next week?
That's your man's. And I think I got it. I don't think I'm going to struggle too much with this selection because we are waiting to do another one with some pals of ours. But because of scheduling, we're going to have to wait on that. So, next week, we are discussing a film that a lot of people steal from, but not more so than Mr. Darren Aronofsky, who owes at least a movie and a half to this film. Next week, we are discussing Perfect Blue. So
I am so excited. I remember you telling me about this film, and I've seen a shot by shot comparison of Requiem and this movie, and now that Ashley Nice challenge is over, I can now buy it officially. And physically own it. Dude, I'm excited, bro.
It's an anime film, which is usually not my bag at all. But this one is more of a psychological thriller than anything else. It's just drawn in that style, which is fine. I've heard someone say, because it just happened to pop up on like some of my TikTok videos, people discussing films and like recommending films, and I think it was Cracked Magazine. But the guy is like, listen, really? Perfect Blue is a great example of animation can do anything you want. And he's right. I think so. Animation can literally do anything, and here's a good example of that, and it's Perfect Blue. The other film that he completely ripped off from Perfect Blue is Black Swan. So, since we're talking about
really, that's interesting.
It's mostly Black Swan that he ripped a lot of this from. But
I mean, look, Darren, if you're watching, we love you, buddy.
We too, man. We're big fans. But you can't deny that it's true.
And you know what? Yeah, I mean, yes. The best form of flattery is what is it?
Imitation.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, look at the Wachowskis and The Matrix versus Ghost in the Shell. Yeah. Which that's a foreshadowing though, right there.
Oh, so stupid.
But no, man, Perfect Blue. I'm excited. Like I said, yeah. All right, well, everyone, we hope you enjoyed our first episode of 2024, American Beauty, and we will see you next week for Perfect Blue.